Hello, Martin. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me. I've been following you for a long time now, but it's the first time I've spoken to you, so thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you giving up your evening to talk to me. My first question I have for you is when did you first discover Tartaria?
Ooh, good question that is. There's some people, they've been talking about Tartaria for a long, long time. People like Flatwater, FE. You just come back out yesterday with a fantastic video. You've got to see it. I linked it up on my channel concerning readings of old America in an early Victorian book. Fantastic. Evidence of existence of Tartaria in America. Just fantastic. But yeah, so in the beginning, I was watching this Russian guy and Philip Dracaenian, another guy who first come up with Mud Flood, was in the chat as well. He'd do about a 4 hour live, but then he started to show these bottom windows. Yeah. And this is a question that's been bugging me since the earliest days, because in my city, everything is like 1880, 1870, beautiful buildings. But I'm like, when I was a kid, I was walking around, I was like, okay, except for the Gothic churches, yeah, where's the older world?
Yeah.
Where is everything? I just couldn't get it in my head. So when I started, and he didn't actually, he wasn't even going down the Mudflood Road, this guy. He was just saying there's an anomaly of why they're down there. Okay. So then Philip Dracaenian started posting about Mudflood. I started posting about Mudflood to Taria. I think the first time I heard that was on probably New Earth, because I was following. There was nobody around hardly in this field in the beginning. There was only New Earth, the lady New Earth, Sylve, and Wiser. Yeah, Wiser done like the old anti, the before the flood stuff, and Sylvia just done everything else. So she was talking about Tartaria, and then I started downloading books about Tartaria, and I just started going right into the subject. But 2017, late 2016, 2017 is when I started. By the time 2018 came, people started to notice. The
Yeah.
world started to notice, and then it started to get really popular. And then some big names started to look into Tartaria, and now the alternative, we'll call it the other alternative history mainstreamies. I noticed that they're all looking at it too, because the questions and the massiveness of this subject is it's just such a multi-spectrum subject. There's so many
Yeah.
aspects to it. The nature
Yeah.
of consciousness, the nature of reality, the geometrics that go down to these buildings. What were these people? How were they thinking? It's just incredible mathematics,
Do you
advanced.
do you think that they were? Because I don't know. I mean,
God,
sometimes I'm scared to put my head above the parapets and come out with certain things that I think because it's so easy to get shot down, as you know. It's
oh well.
and I just think that these surely this was a different civilization to us. These were not like us. These people weren't like us. I think
And
they were.
no, gone, edit it out, gone.
Mm.
Yeah.
What? Who do you think did that?
Phoenicia.
Really?
Hmm. I believe this. I think that the civilization of Tartaria was up and running. It was a worldwide civilization, but it's such a broad term for Tartaria
Yeah.
because even the Welsh, the Scottish people, the Celts, they were all in this, which was a Gnostic society. Okay, people say, "Oh no, they were this religion." No, 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 they were a Gnostic society. Yeah, so the Druids of Britain, as you know, they were Gnostic belief systems, the Cathars, and these people, they were wiped out of civilization, the Cathars, because they were Tartarians. They were in Barbaria in North Africa, Tartar, same people. So it's a broad term for a worldwide civilization, okay, of advanced technologies. The whole historical narrative has sent us on just on a fake narrative of that we've built up slowly, and this is the peak of human civilization. Nay, I think we've been way beyond this peak of civilization in the past with many, many more people, and everything just gets wiped out, edited. Okay, the evidence is on the ground, the classical world. You know, when
Yes.
this times of when all of this has happened, the timeline is what bugs me. You know, because the first time I ever went to Rome, when I was in the Merchant Navy, because this is, you know, when I was in the Merchant Navy, a lot of these questions, I was always in places with the classical architecture. So the first time I was in Rome, I come out of the tube station. Colosseum is right opposite me, and the first thought in my head was, no fucking way. No way that is 2,000 years old. That's what came into my head. Just no way. Just like an epiphany. And then, you know, on the same trip, I'd gone into an apartment block, which would they say was Roman. It's like, well, so I was like standing in a room which looked really modern and trying to imagine 2,000 years of human occupation and all of the babies that have been born in here and right the way through all of the ages. So it didn't ring true to me. So the calendar has been bugging me as well. The timeline is ultimately bugging me. The you know, if you look into creative writing, say before 1900, you know, or the literal works of Dickens and people, you know, like that, or the art even, nobody seems to be able to replicate anything like it in the modern day. They
No.
can make an attempt. It seems we just completely lost all of these rare talents, you know. But I think, you know, post-Renaissance, you know, something happened to civilization. I think we came out of a post-apocalyptic society, but the transition from apparently, you know, being this society that's just scrambling for survival to the roof of the Sistine Chapel is too much of a quantum leap. You know, the
Yes.
time of what they're saying from, you know, from the early Renaissance period, 1450s, from 1300, everyone's riddled with plague and the whole world's falling to pieces, apparently, to this Renaissance period of awakening. Something happened right there, the jump in consciousness. So, you know, some of these works, I do think to myself that they are, these people were Tartarian, people like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, you know, Galileo Galilei, people like that with these extreme talents. And some of the composers like Mozart, you know,
Yeah. I
survivor
agree.
Bach, survivors of
Yeah.
Tartaria. So what I think happened is this, wherever they showed up from the Phoenicians, they were a maritime race. You know, they had their civilization in the Levant, you know, Holy Land, Cyprus, part of North Africa. They expanded their empire according to the official narrative. But there is evidence that they had a foothold everywhere in the world. Well, they set up all modern trade links that we enjoy today. So all of the naval trade links of Rotterdam, Hamburg, Brooklyn, all of these things, Lisbon, all the richest ports in the world, all set up by the Phoenicians. They come in, but the civilization was there. I do believe that they envied them. And then I think that some sort of cultural Marxism took place, like what's happening in today's society, where they tempted the people of Tartaria using the things that they bring into port. Okay, so you could look at China with the Opium Wars, and you know,
Yes.
just the wine that you constantly see Phoenicians drinking. Bacchus is their god; he's the god of wine and fertility, and it's all about the wine. So they bring in alcohol for the North American Indians. It's the firewater. So it's like a type of breaking down the society through
Yeah.
addictions,
Yeah.
and they literally just smashed and shattered it. The society of Tartaria. They probably got everyone turned on one another like they're doing in the modern day and let them do an implosion, because you don't need a war. All you need to turn everybody on one against one another, a bit of false propaganda, make everyone full of
Yeah.
hate, and everyone will just eat one another alive.
Yeah.
You don't
Divide and
need an
conquer.
enemy. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think they've done something along them lines. The architecture that we see that we call Tartarian, the red brick, a lot of it has had a face over. So if you take off the classical facade at the front of some of these, what they say is the classical revival, if you like, the
Yeah.
neoclassical
Yeah.
revival of classical buildings. But then if you look down behind the facade, you can see that they're red brickers. They're all. So I would propose that they came in and then they just not only took over a
Yeah.
civilization, they covered up a civilization,
Whitewashed.
whitewashed. And before then, Tartaria. The language that they had, although they did have a language-based system with numerals and letters, it was all monogram. It was all visual representations, a bit like what you get with hieroglyphics. Yeah. Then suddenly, yeah, maybe in the around the Renaissance, maybe a little bit before, we've gone from a jump of Latin that no one in the world speaks anymore, by the way, except for the Vatican, a jump from Latin to Middle English, and then the advanced English by the advent of the King James Bible. Okay. Before then, it's a jumble of German, French in Britain, but the basis of these languages from maybe the Norman conquest is phonetics. Phoenicians' language is what we are speaking, and it spells. It is magical spells. I do believe that the alchemy, the magic that they were using in Tartaria, and their holistic nature, okay, I think it was all perverted because the Christians obviously don't do holistic, but although the Christians started out in a Gnostic mindset, they didn't, give it away to a foreign entity. I lost my train of thought.
I was going to say that's one hell of an answer.
Okay, so yeah, the invasion. So I definitely think an invasion has happened. So not only are we speaking the Phoenicians' language, but we're under Phoenician law. The maritime law of the sea. Okay, so you're born, you're birthed through the birthing canal, and everything to do with the financial system is to do with water, liquidation, liquid finances, everything to do with
flow,
banks,
fluidity,
everything to do with electoral system is to do with electromagnetics, electricity. So it's all tying in with the Phoenicians. So we speak their language, we go by their laws, the law of maritime law, yeah, through, as you know, we've just all consented to it. And everything to do with the birth of human beings is a guy. And then you get into the church, and then they welcome you into the Phoenician paradigm by the Phoenician tool, which is water, because they're the gods of water. And then you're blessed and you're welcomed into the new paradigm. This is how religion changes the paradigm. Is well, they've done baptisms to Christianity. Yeah, is this watery voodoo that they're doing on people, and then instantly you changed into that paradigm. They did that with the entire world. I do believe that the world that we had back then, was a completely different mindset. People never had worries, fears, suffered, or all of that. I think we lived a long time. Probably a lot of people with bigger stature living alongside us. I don't think we had issues with one another. I don't think we had issues with one another at all. I don't think that even came into it. If you're a higher intelligence, you're not going to be having them issues, because everything, all issues are based on fears, and fears are based on ignorance, and
so there is a lot of evidence that there were giants around, and they've always been given a bad rap, haven't they? That they're evil and
by the movies.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. I think that they stood alongside us. But where do you think they came from?
Okay. Well, I don't know whether you know, but I'm a flat earther. I think the Earth is not actually a spinning ball in space, but a flat,
I agree.
a flat plate.
I'm with you.
So that would suggest that there's probably more land laterally. And I've always suggested it, and I think that they're hiding land. We don't know anything about this realm, Guy. They could be hiding a continent in the middle of the Pacific, hidden by the, the international date line. Mu might even be there. All we know. These places, we know nothing of this realm. All of the flights are controlled. You got to go where they tell you to fly. You can't just waltz off. Shipping lanes, exactly the same, man. You can't go where you want in a shipping lane. You get arrested. You get fined. Yeah, you got to stay on a shipping line. So they keep people corralled. You can't go where you want. Not really. So I think there's a very distinct possibility that there's others, right? Others here. And but I'm also a purveyor because of what I've personally witnessed in this realm myself. I don't care what people think when I say it, but I think that there's other dimensions. There must be, because me and my wife, yeah, and she's not like me. She's not like a dreamer like me. Yeah, she was a Catholic lady, my wife, staunch and very godly. And we were at the garden at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, coming up to bonfire night, that time of year, dark. And there was a UFO the size of Wembley Stadium right there. I could have thrown a stone at it. I could tell you everything about it. And then it moved over about half a mile to the north, and then it disappeared like in a slit in the sky. Didn't talk about it with my wife the day after. Didn't talk about it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Now she saw this as well.
Didn't
She's
talk
there
about
with
it.
you.
My son, who comes around all the time, yeah, he was only little, and I got hold of him. I put him under the stairs, and I was checking my watch, thinking about what you see on telly about time dilations
Yeah.
and stuff. But there was colours on there that I couldn't even tell you, out of my frame of reference, like something to do with orange is all I can tell you. Okay. Ribs down the side without any seams, no welding or nothing, just beautiful, beautiful matte black sort of finish to it. Beautiful. And then we're walking to the store months later, and she just stops dead in her tracks. And I knew what she was going to say before she even said it. And I went, yeah, yeah. She said, what was that at the back? I said, now you... Apparently, if you have one of these events happen to you, your mind just puts into the back of your mind and you just carry on. But it was there with us both lingering. We couldn't even know if it was a dream. Did we both share a dream? Did this really happen? Because it was so fantastical. But that's always stuck in my mind, and many, many other experiences, like UFOs turning up on my 8th birthday party, my entire street. So help me God, my entire street were out there watching it. My 8th birthday party, maybe 50 people.
Do you think that they're talking to you?
I did at the time. I thought they were coming to wish me happy birthday.
Be
But
nice,
I've been thinking that I've been in some sort of ongoing MK Ultra mind control experiment for the longest all my life, and I'm convinced that even my local doctors are in on it, and the people who some of the people in America certainly knew. And I thought that when I was a child, because I had really bad sleep paralysis, the worst. I mean, I trained myself to wake myself up by smacking my head on a wall or slapping myself awake. Because the moment that I tried to go to sleep in that in-between state, I'd be on fire, but feeling the pain. So I would be, so literally, I was terribly depressed. I was scared to death to go to bed when it was night, when it was time to go to bed.
How old are you at this point, Martin? How old?
What
sort of age?
So I'm just from about 6-year-old, but then it stopped dead. So one night then, I got the worst. It was the worst sleep paralysis you can ever imagine. You are so petrified, you scream, but nothing comes out, and you're just stuck screaming. I can't even tell you how horrible it is. It's just the worst thing I can ever imagine in this realm. And I'm like this, something in the room, or I'm like they're trying to take, like I felt like that I was being energetically, or my soul was being abducted, is what I felt was going on. Anyway, I woke up the next morning and my legs don't work. I cried to my mother. They rushed me off to hospital. They do every examination under the sun. They say, my legs have gone into entropy. They don't work anymore. There's no medical reason for it, except for they put it down to I was hyperactive as a child. I was hyperactive. So my mind shut my legs down. That's what they said. And no link to the sleep paralysis or anything. But after that, and then I spent 8 months in a wheelchair, almost a year of my life in a wheelchair, watching all the kids playing football all summer out the street, never thinking that I would ever walk again. That's why I got empathy for people in wheelchairs, because I know what it's like.
Jesus.
And then I woke up one morning, like 8 months later, and they were back. But I had to go to physiotherapy, get them back. They were like sticks. They were like sticks. And then, but it stopped. That after that night, the whole thing had stopped. Yeah. And there's other instances, this hole in my neck, I got a large hole in my neck, I had this thing in my neck. And it looked like Magellan's when he took it. It was just a bunch of like fucking, it's like hairs and wires. But I didn't get to see that because the doctor was going to have a fight with me over me having a look at it. Literally, yeah. Takes it out of my neck, puts it in a kidney tray, it goes ping, like metal. I say to him, can I have a look at that? And literally, then kidney trays. Yeah. I grab the one end, he grabs the other, and we're playing tug of war with it like that. And he just goes one big pull and pulls it away from me and then puts a towel on top. I'm going, mate, that's a bit of meat. I should be able to see what is in there. And another nurse came in, took it away, and walked out. I'm like, whoa, that's not strange at all. And I had another one in my leg, back of my leg, got another hole in there. I removed that in my bathroom. I don't want to mention what it was like on YouTube, but it was a very fearsome thing. Okay, what happened? I got it out. I
Was
thought
it metal again?
metal with all like, if you get a bunch of iron filings and you scrunch them all up together, only much, much, much finer. And I could feel them cutting into me as well. I could feel them cutting in like the wire. So yeah, I removed that one myself in the bathroom. I just had enough. It had to go. It was rubbing on my jeans. It was rubbing on my trousers. I just couldn't stand it. I had to get it out. It was antibody. So yeah, it was really shady with the doctors. I thought it was the way that they behaved, the heart trying to hide it, the whole shadiness around the whole thing in the first place, and the fact that there was about 8 different people came in the room to take a look at me, like if I was some sort of museum exhibit. I'm like, well, I'm only having something removed from my neck. There's no big, no big deal.
And they never told you what it was. They didn't discuss it afterwards, or
Yeah, no, they said it was a cyst.
well, they wouldn't make that sound hitting a train. They wouldn't
Well, I
hide
did
it
look them
either.
up online and stuff. They have a shell. They look quite cellular. And what came up my neck was a bunch of hair. So they're not the same. And it wasn't a cell. It wasn't a cyst. Oh, no, the one in my leg, because that was exactly the same. So there's that. So that's just been in my head that something's been ongoing, like some sort of MK Ultra thing. And I thought I was something to do with Montauk, because apparently
Right.
they spiritually or energetically abducted millions of boys worldwide, took them to the Montauk project to sit in the Montauk chair to test it, because apparently there's only 1 in a billion people that's got the psychic abilities to get this chair going, and this chair can manifest the realm. It is a isokinesis chair, so whatever the master of that chair can envision will happen. It's isokinesis, basically alter all of reality. So whether or not they've done it, I don't know. But I tell you what, there was a lot of information years ago about it with Al Bellick, and he said that he time travel concerning the Montauk. There's a lot of information. I watched it all. There was some of it was very farcical, but it sort of the guy at Star Wars, Mark Hamill. He told a story online. He said he was a Montauk boy, and when I was listening to
Did
it,
he?
yeah, man, he says a few Hollywood people are. When he mentioned the story, I was like, oh, he was talking about sleep paralysis. It was like just whoa. So that's where I made this link, watching Mark Hamill. So I don't know what's going on. It could be just me, just imagining it all, but it all seems really, really strange.
Yeah.
To be able to you're in a wheelchair for nothing, all of this weird stuff happening beforehand, just. And then I just had, because I've been in the truth community, I had people send me emails, and I've had some emails of people in British cities, and they say that they're subject to some ongoing experiment, and different people in different cities tell me a slightly different story. So a different story, a little bit in Nottingham to people in, say, Preston,
Yeah.
but they're all the same. It seems that they're doing experiments on every single British city, but a slight tweak on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think they're doing it well because whatever's happening to Britain, all everything's boarded up and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's not happening here. Cardiff, it's not happening.
Right. Really?
Oh man.
For me, wherever I go, that it's done. That is what I'm
Oh
seeing.
man. You won't see an empty
Everything's
building in Cardiff
boarded up.
Centre. No.
So what do you think is behind that? What's going on there that isn't happening here, or vice versa?
What I've noticed is with the current world stage, it's nonsensical and it makes no sense. It's just stupid. It's really, really stupid.
Yeah.
With the buildings that they're putting up, these high towers with the central concrete columns that are going up in every British city, all at the same time, this new design, they're only temporary buildings. And these affordable houses that they're building them just over the way from me here. They come in on lorries like Lego and they blump, 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 15 years. So all of the buildings that they're building are only temporary. So they're not really planning for a future. But I
I
feel
agree.
they are planning for a future, but without us. If you
I
go
agree
into a
with that as
British
well.
city,
Yeah.
if you go into a British city, all of the Christian churches are either turned into a pound stretcher or they're boarded up.
Yeah.
But there's other denominations where you would never see it boarded up. Okay. Yeah. Religions from other countries, they're just not boarded up. It really does seem like that there is an ongoing invasion happened. Okay. And a war on the people of this country.
Do you think that's restricted to just this country, or do you think this happening worldwide?
Happening everywhere. Germany, France, exactly the same.
Mm.
They've been funneling everyone. If you think of the Earth in the ways of like an azimuthal map, a flat Earth map, they've been funneling everyone into the center bit for quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone's getting, further north and further north. But this, what's happening, is happening everywhere. It's, people say, oh, it's the undermining of society, it's cultural Marxism. You got, I walk around here, although I don't live in fear, but I still got people staring me out that are a little bit stabby in my city. So it's not feeling as confident and secure as I once was.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I think
I
that's
walk
the
around.
same.
It's my city. I'm walking around tough. I can do anything. I'm from Cardiff. Yeah, but not now. Now you get these really weird people, man, they're staring you out like they want to do you. It's scary and they're everywhere. So there's that, and that can't be ignored. That's happening. Okay, and they're they're stabby, like I said. British culture is, I don't know how it's ever going to recover from what's going on. I just don't know what's going to happen. Seems like it doesn't matter because, once our generation, we're the last generation now, Guy, right, that knew what it was like to live without the internet.
Yes, yes, we are. Yes, you're
Yeah.
quite right.
When we're
Yeah.
gone, yeah, that'll be it. Every person that is in the world will all have been born with computers and they wouldn't have known the world without it. They won't even imagine. How did you even manage before the mobile phone? They couldn't even envision how we used to manage. We used to phone the local pub to find people, didn't we? Yeah.
It was better, wasn't it? And
Better.
we're sociable creatures, and
Hmm.
it's been broken. This is purposely done, I think. And I think that lockdown, that was perhaps a big shift in that direction. And then we have the dawn of remote working. I mean, that wasn't a term that we had before.
Oh.
Some people did work from home, but remote working, now everybody wants to remote
Oh,
work. And
listen, if the weather's a bit shady, they say stay home now and work from
yeah,
home. It's raining a bit heavy. But yeah, but that's what they want, isn't it? They want everyone home,
stay
experience,
indoors.
stay indoors. If you want to experience the world, watch YouTube or look on
Yeah,
Google Earth.
yeah,
That's what the
exactly.
world looks like. Don't go there
Yeah.
yourself. 15-minute
It,
cities. This
it
is why
is
they make it
15-minute cities, yeah.
an absolute nightmare to fly at airports. I'm a studier of these sort of situations. I sit there and I look and I think, wow, that is so easy fixable. Why didn't they do that? There must be some people
Mm,
with intelligence in this department. If you watch it, it is set to fail. And the reason it's
yes.
set to fail is to make it unfavorable for you to go on an airplane. Although they're going to charge you the earth and you still can get on one, yeah, it's not going to be a happy experience. Everyone dreads airports and all of the security and
Yeah.
everything else. It's just they make it like you're doing something wrong, you know?
I think the same is true of cars. The roads that are getting worse, there's roadworks everywhere.
Mhm.
If it's not roadworks, it's potholes and traffic jams. And then they're charging people to go into cities. Parking's gone through the
They're
roof,
doing it on purpose.
everything. They want us to stay indoors, have no car,
You
do not
watch
leave the
Birmingham,
house.
the roads outside Birmingham, they'll just come along like, at 3:30 and stick a load of traffic cones just in the middle of the road to cut off a lane when there's no work being done, just to
Mm,
slow everybody down so they all get home crunchy at 6 o'clock.
yeah.
They do it on purpose.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, it is. It's to make it unfavorable. Go on your bicycle. Go 15 minutes from your home. Work from the house. They
Yeah,
just don't want anyone going anywhere.
no. And then
What
we
about the
can't socialize.
population? Do you think the population is as big as they say? Or is there? Because I've got a deep
No, I don't.
suspicion that a lot of people just went missing in the last 5 years, and they've managed to cover it up.
Really?
Honestly, if you look at pop concerts, for example, or
Hmm.
Glastonbury or stuff like that, years ago, in my experience, because I used to go to them all the time, people were crammed in, same as football matches. Now they make it look like there's lots of people. They're all spread out. There's gaps between everyone. Now, going back to the lockdowns, the first summer that people started to come out, yeah, my mate phoned me. He's like, Martin, I'm in Docklands, London. It's like, yeah. He said, it's a boiling hot day. There's no people. The lockdown's over. Where is everyone? He said, I think they're all dead mad. I was like, okay. He said, not only that, he said, I just went right the way down the Bayswater Road, right? He said, never seen a soul. I was like, what, in the middle of London? He's like, yeah. I said, you're tripping. He said, Martin, I think. So then I noticed then I was walking out every day and it would be boiling hot. I mean, it'd be 28 degrees,
Yeah.
no kids out, nobody playing, and people's windows in their front rooms are all closed. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Ain't you hot? I
Yeah.
just couldn't get my head around where everybody was myself. And if they're saying that, like my main city street in Cardiff, Queen Street on a Saturday, would easily have 100,000 people in it all my life. And there was supposed to be a billion less people back in 1990. 1999, a billion less people. Okay. Yet you walk down the same street now, just people dotted around.
Yeah.
And then there's the food. The food, they're just packing it up. They're weighing it up. They're just, I'm not surprised they just don't add sawdust and have done with it. Everything is just
Well,
modified,
that
puffed
is
up,
in some
added.
foods, isn't it?
But it is, yeah.
Mm.
But this puffing up of water and additives, it's not just to, it's because I really do think that they don't seem to produce in that much food. It's
Mm.
not that there's a shortage of it. They're laying back on it,
Mm.
is what they're doing. My suspicion is they've been planning a war for quite some time. I think that there will be a big war, is what I think.
Yeah.
And I think the whole world paradigm is about to be changed unrecognizably so.
When do you think, if we're using, I know that you're the same as me, the timeline's been altered, we don't even really know how many times they've done it, and it's anyone's bloody guess
Yeah.
what year this is. I said to someone recently, I joined the Freemasons 25 years ago, and as you can imagine, I'm not welcome. I rose to a Master Mason at the Grand Lodge of the United Kingdom, right in the centre of London, and I was progressing quite well, and I just switched off. But anyway, I was initiated in 5001. That's the year on the parchment I've got.
That's the Hebrew calendar.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've got that going on. We've got Anatoly Fomenko and his
Yeah.
chronology.
I read a bit of flamenco,
Heavy going, isn't it?
It is heavy going. He's based his missing 1,000 years on eclipses and stuff, but you can't
Mm.
really verify that for yourself because you can't witness the eclipses of them time. It's just the way he's been pushed, Professor Flamenco, by the establishment, that I'm just like, don't really trust
You
easy.
don't know. So what if we say okay, so we're stuck for now for ease of living, for ease of being able to do anything, that we're going to say it's 2025 because we've got nothing else really to pin it on. When do you think that's when the Tartarian Empire fell, that they reset the year again then?
Yeah.
Because I think 1776, the start of New World Order, is when all this.
Right. If you go to Pope Gregory's mistake. So Pope Gregory says that he has made a mistake and there's been a mistake in the calendar where it's not lining up with the eclipses that was made when they made the Scalangeria chronology in the Council of Nicaea. So then sometime after, Pope Gregory says, oh no, we're going to have to amend the calendar.
Mm.
And at that period, they removed 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, from actually in October. But the rest of that didn't, it took a time to go through the rest of Europe. This from Gregorian Juliana, it didn't get adopted in the rest of Europe, some of it until like late 1800s. So each country is on a different chronology, and then you got the Hebrews on 5074 or 5000, whatever it is, 5074. From them, but that's interesting. What they say is the moment of creation when all of this just came into being. So I think along those lines, I think that that's what we're doing. It's like, this is a creation, but I think that we are creating it every instance, every single instance forward, every now that we are creating this realm. I think that we're doing that. And with that, the powers that should not be, they understand how this, this reality is. And I think that they hijacked it. They hijacked our energy fields, because it's definitely about our energy fields. Our electrical charge can be utilized as well, to power. It seems to me that we are powering for somewhere else. Okay, if this is a mainframe computer called Noah, and we are inside of it, right, and some sort of Tron where they can just edit out a whole civilization, replace it with whoever arrivals from wherever, cloned, ready, underground, up they come through wherever, Starthought, who even knows? And then repopulate the place with a new paradigm. The paradigm of 1900s is a dirty, gritty paradigm of black clothes and miserable people.
Yeah.
Everyone hiding from the sun. It's not golden, not what you witness in, the Renaissance period, where
No,
everything is
absolutely not.
illuminated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something happened in between there as well. So 1700 something. My family, right? I got my ancestor is the Marquis of Landoc, right? Marquis of Landoc, and my family used to own all of the land between Cardiff and Penarth. And even till this day, that land hasn't been built on, because the will is in probate in the Doomsday Book. And my uncle, when he retired from the steelworks, Gaskins, he was going to use his money to pay. They wanted a lot of money to get it out, this information, to prove that the will or the land belonged to my family.
Yeah.
Now, the only information they can give him is there's two wills. They have one, deeds, excuse me, to the land. They have one, and the other was perished in a fire in the mansion house in 1740s. And I'm like, why is everything burning to the ground in 1740s? You've
Yeah.
got Lanza
Yeah.
Cathedral. It loses a spire in 1740s, they say, in a terrible hurricane. And then you've got all these earthquakes in this period. Apparently, like Glastonbury Tor's fallen down in an earthquake. This church on the side of a mountain here in Abergavenny apparently slid down the mountain during an earthquake. What earthquakes? It seems like there's a lot of, activity in these periods.
Yeah.
No?
Lots of fires, lots of floods. And I try to tell people that. I mean, the World's Fairs is another classic
Mind
example.
blow.
How many of those had an accidental fire? And but actually, that leads me to something else I wanted to ask you. These cataclysms, these events that started the mud floods, I can't help thinking that these are direct energy weapons being used here.
100%.
And I've looked into the Vajra, and I wrote about it in my book.
Yeah, same in my first book.
They're amazing, aren't they? The
Yeah.
Thunderbolt. I mean, Elon Musk has one on his bedside table. This is an important piece of kit. I think that was harnessing energy from the ether, and that is perhaps where where lasers come from, or the idea of lasers, lightsabers. I think that there's a lot going on there.
Well, I
And
tell you what, you send me one of your books and I'll send you one of mine. Because
yeah,
I got pictures of the electromagnetics around a Vajra. You get an inertia plane, you get a double torus. Yeah, exactly the same as the human body, actually, exactly the same as the construct for this place as well. It's an actual miracle. But yeah, it all converges like a caduceus at a convergence point. And that point there, that was the key in the beginning, was to get in the energy that they grabbed into that one convergence point. Yeah. For directionalization, but they nailed it. You can get Vajras like massive, for giants. But yeah, why would Elon Musk have one of them next to his bed?
Yeah, exactly.
He knows what's going on.
He does, doesn't he? And I don't know where you are with him, but I don't.
Well, what I get
what is
is,
going on with him?
the buzz I get is he's not smart.
No, I think he employs smart people, but I don't think he is. He comes across as a bit.
He's good at. He's an actor. He's, you know, I tell you, I would have thought he may have been up until that little ridiculous thing that he did at the inauguration when they say he accidentally Zeke Heiled. We're going to Mars. He acted
Yeah,
like
well,
a
that wasn't the
six-year-old
Zeke Heil,
child.
wasn't it a Roman salute that he was
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah. But he acted like a small child. It was like
Yeah.
ridiculous for a high-end intellectual, the smartest man in the world,
I watched
acting
him dancing stood next to Trump actually on something earlier on today, but
super bad.
he always looks a little bit. He looks out of place. And what's he doing, taking his kid around with him everywhere? I mean,
I don't know,
what's
man.
that
And it's
about?
the ex kid who went up and
Yeah.
said, "You're not president." My father said around the table. He just, I know. It's just the whole show. You know, is changing narrative every single day. You're
Mm,
meant to forget and just go on. It's like, you know,
mm.
Zelensky's going to send him a nice cutchy letter and say, "Could I have? You can come and extract these minerals now," because that's what all of the problems are about. But today he's gone and followed the money. Zelensky. He's in Saudi with the money. They're going to give him 500 million to go and blow up some bombs. I bet
Yeah, but
Starmer thought he'd done a brilliant thing. I bet he thought, oh man, I've just done a brilliant deal. I've literally nicked 1.6 billion off the Russians, like Abramovich's boat and basically all of the stuff they stole from the Russians. And I've given it to Zelensky. And he's giving it back to me to build bombs in Belfast. I just got us
mm,
a wicked big. So what he done here is he's legally laundered money. He's turned the
yes.
money that was Russian money in the beginning from elites, and he's giving it away. And now this thing is it's actually really clever because he's just completely used that money without using it, just
And what's
converted it.
going on with him? Why do we always see him wearing that sort of military combat kit with the sweatshirt? What is that about?
Did you ever see the? I know Eastern European telly is really, really rubbish. Anything from Europe is really rubbish telly. But there was a series he starred in, a soap opera in the Ukraine, where he played the American president. Have you actually seen it?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to
and then he
bloody
gets to
watch it
be
now.
not the American, the excuse me, the president of the Ukraine.
Right.
Well, and it is a parody of what he's doing now, talking to world leaders and stuff and messing it up. It's like spies like us, you know, like
Oh, that's a
everything.
good film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Everything goes wrong. Yeah, with it.
Yeah.
But he's a, you know, it's just you're supposed to take him seriously, like in this like
Mm,
footage of him in high heels and stuff, and you know,
mm.
he's just doing all these, you know, very
He
straight.
was a bit of a comedian, wasn't he? Didn't he do stand up and
Well,
wasn't he all
maybe
right?
that's as good as the comedy gets in Dagestan or wherever he's from. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
just saying, you know, these Eastern Europeans, they don't know about humor. It's like I've watched it. Wiggling your bits in a lycra
I
costume
know.
is not funny. It's
Yeah.
actually disgusting. Can you stop it
Yeah.
already? So the military thing, I think that is he's being Spectre. I think he's trying to be
Mm.
a bit of a criminal, you know, look like, you know, he's watched some sort of movie and he's trying to get a
Yeah.
bit the Spectre. I'm surprised he didn't come in with a cat, you know. But
Yeah.
with a child, that's just a mini me. I think Trump would love a mini me if he could get away with it. He has had some strange children coming in hanging around his table, like that little black American kid. They dressed up like a police officer because he survived cancer to come and he tried to hug Trump. Trump's like, is the
Yeah.
cameras on me? Oh, it is all just
Mind
fear.
you, his own son, Baron. I mean, what's going on there? Is he 6'9" or something? And then we got
Well,
the book, haven't we? Ingersoll Lockwood books on the event
and
that banned
Mars, who's the
Trump.
president
And
of Mars in the book?
yeah, Elon, isn't it?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You can't make it up, can you?
No.
What is the chances?
Yeah.
But
So
there's
what's
something
going on
special.
there
Oh,
then?
excuse me. I think there's something special about Baron Trump. I think he's smart, is what I think.
So
Particularly so.
see, I sometimes wonder if you just go back a few years ago, nobody knew about that book. It didn't sell very well. It wasn't popular, and
Isn't that
any of
weird?
those novels. And now everybody's talking about it, and we're talking about this old book that's over 100 years old. And it's what if it isn't?
That could be the
What if
case
it's
with
not?
everything. Listen, I've only been here since 67. And my books that I grew up with were from Cardiff Central Library, but they only went back to late 1800s. I could never get anything older.
Mm,
Um, because the main libraries in Britain, like a lot of them, sporadically caught fire. The National
Yeah,
Archives
it's
in
odd that, isn't it?
Birmingham, 1902, burnt all Britain's records.
They've been doing that since Alexandria, haven't they? It
Library of
is,
Alexandra.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Imagine what was in those records. Good
I've
God.
got I've got, you can't see from here, but I've got I'll have to send you a picture actually. We specifically go out to secondhand bookstores, charity shops, anywhere where we can find old books that people don't realize are older than they appear.
Yes.
So like let's say for example, someone's doing a house clearance, and this person's got books that are sort of 200 or 300 years old. Anybody's going to look at those thinking, who wants that shit? I don't want these old bloody books. And they just bin them off, and they don't realize actually that was, mid 1700s encyclopedia that's talking about Tartary and and um, and other things that it shouldn't be, religions we've never heard of, and races of people we've never heard of. And we've got them. I've got an old medical book here. It's my wife's actually, that's talking about, it's from a Scottish doctor. And he's saying that one of his patients is 185, and he's talking about how by not drinking any form of alcohol you live longer,
Oh, I agree
and
with that.
so much in it that now we wouldn't take any notice of.
Wow.
Incidentally, Tesla himself. Now, I keep wondering whether or not Nikola Tesla, actually existed. And if he did exist, was he getting everything in a vision like he claimed he was? Or was he just reverse engineering Tartarian technology?
Oh,
Or could it be that lots of things were associated to him, like they do believe with Shakespeare, it was actually a committee and not one person? What are your thoughts on Tesla? Was he reverse
well,
engineering, or what's going on?
luckily enough, I added a chapter about him in my first book. And what I thought was this. He grew up in Serbia, and his father was a Orthodox priest.
Hmm.
He knew about the Bible, and he knew about electromagnetics. To me, the active antiquitech was still going in his lifetime in Serbia. One of his first and most important inventions outside of the electricity was the Tesla motor.
Yeah.
Right, it's almost a perpetual. It works
Hmm.
on attraction and repulsion of magnets.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a beautiful device, but I think he got the design out of the Holy Bible. I think that he got the design out of what I call the four angels, the double Taurus, and I think that if he did exist, okay, because I brought this up on a vlog, right? Saying there's no video evidence he existed. I think he's tied into the Rosemary's Baby narrative, something to do with the devil, because he lived in the Dakota as well. So there's it's just tied in with that, that narrative with these social engineering programs, because that's all they are, narratives. That's all of this is jumbles of narratives I've noticed in this place. So I think that it is a high possibility that he was a psyop, because they want you to believe that he invented the ideal for teasing electricity out of the ether, even though it'd been used all that time prior to that.
Yeah.
He just shows up exactly the same time as Edison. And then it's what you need with, especially the change of an energy paradigm, okay, is a Hegelian dialectic. So
Yeah.
AC and DC, which one's going to win? So the
Yeah.
poor little foreigner, yeah, he's been shoved out. We've burnt all of his inventions, his earthquake machine and all of his other inventions, and he won't be turning the grass blue anymore with his giant Tesla towers. So they knew he was doing it, they say. But then he ends up, and then there's a 40-year gap in his lifetime of no
Yes.
photographs. And
Yeah.
then there's an American interviewer interviews him in the Dakota Hotel when he's this really gaunt, thin old man.
Mm.
It doesn't even resemble Tesla. Tesla was a really good looking man when he was young.
Yeah,
He
he
was like a
was.
movie star, man.
Yeah.
So people say he's a vampire. Tesla, there's a
Yeah.
narrative of the vampire,
Yeah, I've
and that
heard
he
that.
shows up in every civilization. This
Mm.
this genius of Tesla. Um, But when I brought it up, I got contacted by a guy who showed me photographs of a museum they've got in Serbia, in Belgrade.
Yeah, it's got his clothes in there and his Bible actually.
Yeah, all his personal effects. Yeah, so,
Yeah, yeah, I've
yeah.
seen all that. I
So
contacted them and asked them if they had any video footage of him or knew of
there's
anything.
none.
Nothing. And I said, "This is a man at the forefront of technology, yeah." But do you know what they said? They think he might have been camera shy.
There's a
Really?
possibility.
That doesn't mean someone couldn't have filmed him. I mean, just
Yeah.
because you don't want to pose for a picture doesn't mean that someone somewhere isn't filming you. But
But not like
not only
you
to have his
mentioned
photo
just now
taken.
with the Baron Trump book.
Mm,
Okay, this Tesla narrative is a relatively recent narrative.
it
And
is.
then Musk calls his car Tesla. So, it's because, it's the link with free energy and it's a subtle. They keep giving you these subtles. I can't imagine the amount of times this has happened where they're just telling us stuff and then there's evidence to it. Like the book, when it all happens with Rona, and then they say, like it's in this book from 1980s about an outbreak of it in the same city.
Mm,
It was exactly the same narrative. It's either a massive coincidence, either it's predictive programming, or this shit has just pops into reality. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
happened 1,000 times. So many.
Or a Mandela effect going on or something.
Why not? Listen, edits happen. There's no way in a million years that my kidneys were up in my ribs. When I was in school, kids used to punch me in my kidneys. We used to punch kids in the kidneys. This is a thing. It was horrible, sicky feeling, isn't it? Makes you
Mm,
feel horrible. So how come it's not there anymore? And it's up into my ribs, and my heart as well. That's physiology has seemed to change, and the Holy Bible, the Lord's Prayer, in the King James Bible is zero, like the one we grew up with. It's completely changed. So, and the Lion and the Lamb, how can that even be when my friend got a painting of a lion and a lamb? It's never existed. I've asked many clergy, and they go, "Yes, of course it is. Of course it is." And they'll open the Bible and be like,
yeah,
"Never exists." So I don't, how that could happen, but I think it's edits. I really do think, by us, like we could do a crafty here, all of the truth for community. I think that we could just bust through to the other side, break on through to the other side, like literally just walk through into the better realm. I think it's there. I think it's a shift of frequency, understanding, or inner standing. Because the thing is, with all of these narratives, because it's all narratives, isn't it? And we got to pin out what exactly is going on in this
yeah,
puzzle. It all circles right the way around and it comes back to exactly the same point, every single one of them. That the truth is, all is mind, and we're doing it. So we're doing all of it. The resets. What if they just bait everybody up full of fear, full of hate? Yeah. And then there's a reset. Who do you think's to blame now?
mm.
So they could literally prompt a reset, just like, and they're definitely going towards that because,
Oh yeah, yeah, I
the
agree.
way people are acting towards one another, there's a lot of mistrust. I seen a
Mm,
video earlier and he reminded me when I was a kid, guy, guess you was the same. My front door was left open. Everyone in the street
mm,
was left open. My mother would go out and clean a path and all the other ladies would come out, clean their path, and then it'd all wash the street down. Everyone's gardens were beautiful. The kids were all happy playing out. Yeah. And anyone who never had no food, any olds, they used to take a dinner in through the door and prepare them. And this is how we lived when I was a kid. Everyone did in Britain. It was bloody fantastic. Now you can't even open your door.
no, no.
So that's where we've come. I'd like to be able to go back to a trusting society where you haven't got to worry. Half the narratives, they literally poison people's minds. I've watched it happen. When they do stuff like poison people's minds with Epstein stuff and all of that. So what I noticed then is like channels will crank up and there's grown men and they're thinking about like Epstein stuff all day. It's like, haven't you got anything else to think about? Do you want to put your mind there? And they know that. They're steering people into that mentality. If you're going to be talking about that, people are going to have to fucking be forced to visualize that to be
Yeah,
able to speak about it. So
yeah,
they're using these techniques, whether or not, I don't think any of it is actually true. I don't think this guy's even existed. I don't think any of it is real. I think it's a narrative, like it's all narratives, to play the public. How many fuckers excuse my language, how many people in the world will fall for that? And think about it. Many people. And all of the other narratives as well. The narrative of the world stage, Ukraine, Russia, China, World War III, right on the brink. Yeah. What about nuclear weapons? I was thinking about them today. So I was under the impression myself, being a truther, that they never managed the implosion technique. Okay. I don't know whether I actually believe in the quantum realm the way that they say. Okay. I do think there's something happening down there, but I think it's bits of information. I think it's ones and zeros, switches. Okay. Yeah. When you get down to it, I think there's a technology behind it, or which is why it's some sort of holography going on, yeah, tensor holography that makes it all seem so physical and 3D. They know this. I think that they could I think that the edits are real. I think the religion pushes edits, and they know that as well, and they can sway billions of people. I don't know how many people a year. I decidedly think that there's a lot less. Yes, I do feel that the people who are just wobbling along, the jibby jabbers, they literally failed the test 5 years ago of whether or not they'd stand in their own power and not fuck over everybody else they've ever met in a really despicable, treasonous manner, which they did. So it's like a test to see.
So do you think that then? Do you think that they've actually got that was a test to see who would?
Yeah.
Who
I do. I think they're vetting. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe just like 1 billion people would just cross over into this new realm and they'll leave the rest to that war.
Yeah.
Maybe they did invent nuclear bombs, but since.
Yeah. I often wondered that, because when you look at actually Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and in theory, we shouldn't be able to live there still now.
Well, what happened to radioactive half-life? They tell us it's like,
exactly.
Going to be septic for 770,000 years or whatever. But there's like with Chernobyl in the Ukraine, you
can have a guided tour around there, and the
animals are still
fishing and eating the fish out, and they say, "Well, I'm all right." And if you can hold on a minute, that doesn't actually follow what we've been led to believe. So
I don't buy it, and they've only used it twice.
Yeah,
they've only used it twice apparently.
Yeah,
all of those tests.
Any of that.
So I think it's like conventional warfare, and they can use thermal barracks. I would say they probably have very large explosives, but I really do think it's been electromagnetic technology all along. I think that they can turn things to dust. I really do think they can do it.
Yeah,
and they have been doing it, and they're ongoing doing it.
Yeah.
What about these wildfires? They just sprung off in like Long Island?
Yeah.
It's just like these, all of these events that are happening are just unprecedented. They're just like craziness lately with all these forest fires. And this ship as well. There's something really, these ships that just collided in North Sea. I think that is really going to be very serious. And this is why. One of the ships was carrying sodium cyanide. The other ship was carrying over 1 million liters of jet fuel that was bound for an American base for the jets. So there's going to be some sort of suggestion of some sort of sabotage. The American ship was German owned. The other ship was Portuguese, also American run. And all of this stuff now, this jet fuel, which is hard to pick up because it's so refined, is on its way to the coast. And it is a massive explosions happened. And all this is ongoing. All of these weird events that keep happening.
Yeah.
What about all the planes dropping out of the sky?
I was just going to say that. And falling over, tipping upside down.
Everyone
what's going on?
Nothing happened to them.
Yeah. What's going on?
Haven't it?
Yeah.
Just to put people off flying, do you think?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Yeah.
They did it with the railway stations back in the day, because we used to have some beautiful Victorian railway stations in Cardiff, and they knocked them down, beautiful Tartarian buildings, and they replaced them with what essentially are containers, for the new stations. So what they did is when the motor car came along, right? So up until that point, everyone was having a nice coal fire in the waiting room and a nice cup of chai. The train would come in, everything was really lovely. Okay, and they were covered. Then they removed the roofs in a lot of these stations. They made it unfavorable for people to stand on the platforms. The tea was
Mm,
gone, everything, all the nicey things were gone.
mm,
So that people didn't want to go on trains. They went into the new mode of transport that just been introduced, the motor car.
yeah,
So they did that as well, you know, to get people away from trains and back
yeah.
on trains off the roads. Then they use this unfavorability that is by design for it's crazy, but they do it.
What I, in like my research, I've focused on several things over the years, but Star Force perhaps one of my favourite,
Yeah.
which I do need to look into more. But one of the other ones is the whole repopulation, the Cabbage Patch babies, the incubator babies, the orphan trains. What are your thoughts on there? Because I
I'll
can't
tell you
get
how it all
my
came about, shall I? So I posted one day where I realized that I was born in St. David's Hospital in Cardiff that used to be the workhouse. And then one girl in my comment, when I spoke about it, said, "That's funny. I was born in a workhouse too." And then loads did. And I went, okay. And then I started to look into workhouses. And then I started to look into orphanage asylums. And then I did a post where I show pictures of, you know, just aside, basically 60-year-old men, all identical, filling in, you know, that photograph, don't you? And then I said that, well, all of these showed up from somewhere. And I suggested that we'd have some sort of replacement population through the orphanages.
yeah,
Then the very next day, another YouTuber then he'd watched it and he did a brilliant post where he'd found evidence of the orphan trains. Yeah, 30,000 a day blew my mind. That was Conspiracy RS. Yeah, he did it the very next day. And from there, yeah, it just, poof, everyone was starting to look into it. But yeah, that's how it all started that day.
do you think that with the Cabbage Patch babies and this sudden emergence of these postcards, sort of late 1800s, early 1900s, that where,
They could
where
suggest.
where do you think all these babies are coming from? Not the orphans, you know, from different ages. I mean the babies, because I sit there wondering, were they cloning? Were they knocking out clones? And I can't stop
I
thinking
think
that they
so.
were.
I wondered it myself, you know. When I went to America, somebody come up to me and they asked me, the first question they asked me was, "Are you worried about being cloned?" Deadly serious. I
Oh
was
wow.
like, "Well, no, not really." It's like, right. It's like, well, you obviously think that it's a thing. So, you know, but Hollywood will certainly tell you, you know, there's films with, you know, that one with Tom Cruise where he's just got limitless hymns ready to go. Um, we don't know what's below us, and the star thoughts could have been advanced labs, or we know. You know, the Hopi said that the others or the people came from the stars. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the star thoughts maybe. Um, I think there's a definite possibility of an advanced, you know, like you suggest, baby farms, breeding programs for repopulation. I really
Mm,
do. Yeah, and they did it like a smaller or to a certain extent during World War II. You know, if you follow the Lebensfrau program, where they called them baby farms.
yeah.
Yeah, for the Reich, they were going to reoccupy Russia once they took it over, and the SS were going to be the rulers, and they were going to have all of these new population. They had
Yeah.
buildings full of babies. There was women. That's just baby makers. They
Yeah.
could have of multiple fathers as well, as long as they were producing babies to repopulate
Yeah.
later. So
Yeah.
baby farms are 100% for repopulation, a thing, a real thing. And
Yeah.
if they do it in World War II, I bet you they would have done it earlier to a
Yeah.
larger extent. This place was empty, man. Empty. It looks like from the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those old photos that we look at where we're looking for the mud flood windows,
Too,
the streets are bare. And I've seen it in
too many
St.
cities.
Petersburg and all over the world. There's nobody around. And the other thing is, in some of those old photos, you very rarely see children. And then I start watching Alice Guy and her first film, The Cabbage Patch Fairy, and then Midwife to the Upper Classes, and watching how they interact with children. It's like they'd never seen one before, picking it up by its limbs and then dropping it on the floor. It's like they were a novelty. You know, what is this? What's this small thing?
If you think about the movies again, you know, like Mary Poppins, for example, it seems that there was a culture of having nothing to do with your children.
Yes.
because they had nannies, they had other people, like are
Mm.
they even their children?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like bed knobs and broomsticks. Same
Mm.
story with these children that are, they're being cared for. It's just,
Mm.
you got to think like, why is this separation? Why is there no bonding between, parents and children? And, in the,
Yeah. And
it's
little
just,
sayings that my dad used to use it. Children should be seen and not
well,
heard.
my mum used to
I
say it.
grew up
Well,
with that.
well, this is the way they used to think, I guess. That's a good
Mm.
point, that is actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed it as well. I noticed that there's a bit of footage of, I think it's 1902 Blackpool, and it is literally thronged with people. And it's boiling hot summer's day. Everyone's dressed in a suit with a hat on, as you know,
Hmm.
covered.
Yeah.
There's a couple of
Yeah.
teenagers, but there's no children. This is
Yeah.
Blackpool's Golden Mile, but there's no
Yeah.
children in these footage. I brought that up. I have this. There seems to be a lack of perambulation. You can find one or two. So there's a lack of prams. And you go,
It's it is strange, isn't it? And you see
what
them on the
about this then?
beaches.
Adam and Eve, okay, in all depictions have got belly buttons.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So where did they come from? It's like the devil, okay, for example. So did the devil have a mum and a dad? Is there a mum, dad, devil? God, for example, did God have a mum and a dad?
Mm.
It's just if he had a son
Mm.
and God, it's just like there's always this. It's just weird,
That's infinite.
infinite.
Yeah, because if the devil had parents, had a mum and a dad, then the mum would have had to have had parents, and the dad would have had to. Where does that stop?
It's weird, isn't it? I think it's all bullshit. I think it's all narratives. I think religions, this whole heaven and hell narrative is a business model, and it's earned them trillions over the years.
Mm.
It is us, fixating, creating thought forms that they put there. It's just, I don't think there's a hoofy, beardy dude with
No,
hoofs and stuff. It makes no sense in
no,
reality,
no,
actually, does it? Unless you've
no.
taken loads of hallucinogenics, that
I,
does.
I, I think I think it's giving people rules and fear, and you've got to do this or this will
Yeah.
happen, and
So they can control you.
yeah, and then ultimately it turns into somebody somewhere saying, if you do right by me, chuck a couple of quid in my pocket, do what you're bloody told. I'll have a word with the man because I'm on first name terms, and I'll make sure you don't burn in hell. And that's what it is. And half of the people that go to church have never read the owner's handbook. They're relying on somebody else reading it to them,
Mhm.
but they've not read it. And you can't read the Bible and say, well, I'm going to disregard the book of Enoch, the book of Thomas, the book of Giants, the book of
Now we're talking.
you can't disregard
No,
half
it's
the
a
bloody.
code. It's they've given us a mainframe, a template, and it's for us to decode. I think a lot of it is
Mm,
analogous. I think that it's about our rite of passage, our up until the point of death and rebirth, our passage in this place. A lot of people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing here.
mm,
Ego and greed
yeah,
and everything else. We're supposed to be loving and caring for our brothers and sisters and being kind and just moseying on through this reality. Yeah, we can be creative artists and do all of that, but the whole world is dog eat dog, and
yes, it is.
it's terrible.
It's inverted. Everything's inverted. One
It's
thing I
not
did
helping
want to
us.
ask you, so I just realised that with how long we've been going for.
I don't know. I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, I think we should do another one
I
because
think so.
I'm sort
Yeah,
of
I think so.
conscious of how long we've been talking. But one last question for you: do you think that sooner or later all of this is going to come out? And Tartaria is what really I'm talking about. Do you think we're going to reach a point
Okay.
where
So
this is no longer conspiracy?
I seen a little video earlier by, I think it was yours, where one of the guys you interviewed a guy who had been speaking to Carlson. Will what's his name?
Billy Carson.
Billy Carson. So Billy Carson has just had his has handed to him by Wes Hurth. So he's like, where do I go next? And
Mm,
literally, when all that happens, I thought he's going to do Tartaria. And now you're going to find a lot of these mainstream. I seen one, a British group of guys, I can't remember the channel, talking about Tartaria, and they had 500,000 subscribers, three fellas in suits. And I
really?
and I listened. Yeah, Somebody sent me the link. I listened to it all the way through. They were never knew anything of any of the truth community. They were going solely on TikTok videos. TikTok videos of church windows, antiquitech, they're all over TikTok. But nothing they said was negative. They said, oh, no, I agree. You know, progressiveness is definitely our downfall. And the whole narrative for, the beautiful society of Tartaria, they were on board with. And so I think there's a lot more big channels that are going to see it, as there's just so many. If there's a content provider for somebody who needs content for YouTube, this is indistinguishable. I mean, it'll go on forever, because there's always something new every single day. I find something new. I've got 3 different potential vlogs written down just today alone, with new information that I got today, and it's like every day.
Yeah.
So it's so exciting. I love it.
Well, I think we'd leave it there, Martin. We've been talking for such a long time.
Yeah, nearly 9.
But we'll have to do this again.
We can
fancy having another chat. We'll, yeah.
So, is this going up on your channel soon?
Yeah. So I'll put it up. I'll put it up over the next few days. Yeah.
Jolly good. I can share that on my channel. Get some people stuff.
Yeah. Please do. And we'll have to. There's a couple of questions I want to ask you that are a bit out there, but I'm going to leave. No, I'm going to leave them. I'll talk to you. Yeah, we'll do this again. I'll talk to you again. But anyway, thank you, Martin. What I'll do is, obviously you've got a huge following, but I'll put obviously links in, so people can go directly to your channel from here. And any, if you want any contact details or links to your books or anything else,
I just got my link for my website. Everything's on there. So
brilliant. Then we shall do that. We'll put it in. But anyway, it's been lovely chatting to you, Martin. Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed speaking to you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. And you never know. Next time when we actually meet, we might be on a plane, eh?
Yeah. Listen, it's just breaking pattern, man. It's just don't create the fears. My fear is just being like a ton of hours, but you can break it up. My postman just went off to Oz, and he says he's going to stop off in Dubai for an hour and a half, and then just while they refuel and get back on, so you can have a whiff or what have you. Yeah. So I thought, and break it up into 2 13-hour slots or whatever. 12,
that might be the way
12
to
and
do
8.
it.
So or you stop off in Singapore, and Camel went there. They got the most fantastic airport on earth. It's all like waterfalls and monorails and stuff. Something like you can stop off there. So there's that. So
I might have to do that then. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Never been to China.
No, me neither. Right. Well, thank you. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks. Talk soon, yeah?
Yeah, we'll speak soon. Yeah,
right, we'll keep in contact,
so much. Yeah, please do.